In the heart of the Drakensberg Mountains, nestled within the rolling grasslands of acacia trees, lived a proud young hunter named Temba. Temba was the youngest of 3 brothers, the sons of a once great warrior who had passed down his spear, shield, and wisdom, or so he hoped. His older brothers, Kabelo and Sizwe, were strong and proud. They would tease Temba for his quiet nature and smaller build, but in a fun way, like the normal brother banter. "He's a dreamer," Kabelo would say, always listening to the weed. Sizwe would laugh, but they loved him dearly. They would tag him along to their hunts whenever possible. They would train and teach him the tricks and the rules of the world. Even though they never meant those words, they clung to Temba like morning mist. He tried to rise above them, but their tongue ran deep. He trained privately, and he changed his mindset. In his mind, he was the best hunter in the village and beyond. And his training finally paid off, because one day he followed the village hunters secretly. And on that day, Temba's spear fought the heart of a massive lion, a beast even the elders had whispered about. The village celebrated, singing his name around fires. But with the praise came something new, a massive eagle, finally seen as more than the weak one. Temba began to walk with his head too high and his ears closed to advice. He became proud and arrogant. He looked down at anyone who was weaker than him. He forgot quickly where he came from. And he continued practicing, and he sharpened his skills to a new level. Temba's name spread across drylands as the best hunter of his generation. He walked tall, threw his spear farther than any man. And unfortunately, he believed he was right, even when he wasn't. His mother tried to talk to him. Elders tried. Even his oldest brothers tried. But his ego was way greater. One morning, the village awoke to a strange silence. The one that you feel something is wrong in the air. The sacred drum, the sacred staff of Umnovula, the rain mother, had been shattered. The elders said it was a sign of imbalance, a warning that someone had broken a spiritual law. That evening, Temba's mother noticed something missing from their home. A wooden staff carved with ancestral markings. She had warned her sons never to touch. She was a descendant of the rain spirit, so she had the right to keep that staff. She wept quietly, knowing her son had gone too far. And to true mother's instinct, she knew it was Temba. Instead of confessing, Temba scoffed. "It's just an old stick," he muttered. The others called for calm, saying the spirit would find a balance in its own time. But that time was short-lived, because a few nights later, something changed. The air shifted to something dark, as if a bad spirit was in the air. The hunters started disappearing without any trace. Kabelo, Temba's oldest brother, did not return after he went hunting. And that was unusual because they always hunted in groups. Well, except for Temba. He always hunted alone. Another hunter disappeared, and then children and women started disappearing as if the earth was swallowing them. The elders called for a meeting. They needed to find a solution ASAP before a bigger calamity would befall the village. But everyone knew that the disappearance was because of the wooden staff Temba had broken. But he did not show any remorse despite losing his brother. The elders decided that it was time they sent some of the best hunters to go and try to get another staff deep in the forest. But there was a catch. The people that would be selected had to be of pure heart and patient of ear. And Temba was none of that. But Temba, being Temba, insisted he had to go. But not because he was remorseful, but because he wanted to prove a point that he could do anything. He did not even wait for the elders' direction and a cleansing ritual that was necessary before setting off to such a journey. He just set off. He entered the forest with his spear and his eagle. For 3 days, the trees watched him. The wind ignored him. His path looped and curved. He ate nothing. He had nothing. He did not even know where he was. On the 4th day, he collapsed under a tamarind tree, worn out, tired, and maybe a hint of regret. As he was lying down, a voice met him, and he said, "You break what you do not understand. You chase what you do not hear." He looked up to see an antelope, its coat silver, its eyes full of dusk. It had white fur that shimmered, and the horns that carved like river nils. He raised his spear, but as he aimed, the antelope spoke again. "Temba, child of Drakensberg, why do you chase what you do not understand?" Startled and shocked for the first time, he lowered his weapon. "What or who are you?" he asked. "I am what you've forgotten," said the antelope. "Humility, respect, and spirit." The antelope turned and trolled towards a path lined with bones and feathers. Despite his fear and confusion, Temba followed. The antelope stopped and offered to guide him, but on one condition. You must listen to the land, to the silence, to your own heartbeat, and above all, to me, the antelope said. Temba, desperate, broken, and hungry, agreed. As they walked, the antelope told him things about how trees speak in silence, how wind carries warnings, and how grief, when buried, poisons the roots of a man. Temba did not speak for the first time in his life. Well, after that triumph kill, he listened. He heard the sounds of stones cracking. He noticed the curve of bird flight. He remembered his brother's warnings. He remembered his oldest brother. And for the first time, He internalized the consequences of his action. He cried quietly and regretted what he had done. He regretted the pain he had caused his village and his mother because of his ego. Days later, they reached a small hill shaded by 2 baobab trees. Beneath them, hidden in a plain sight, was a spring, clear and cool and beautiful. Temba knelt, trembling, as the antelope turned to leave. But just before it stepped away, the wind held still. The water in the spring began to shimmer, swirling slowly, forming shapes, first meat, then wood, and then symbols. From the very center of the spring, a staff rose, carved with glowing ancestral markings, just like the one that he had broken, but better and mightier. Temba watched in awe. "This staff," the antelope said, its voice low and steady, "is not something one finds. It's not something that is carved by human hands. It is something that is revealed only to those who have truly changed." Temba tried to reach for it, but the antelope raised its head. "It's not just the journey through the forest that brought it forth," it said. "It was a journey through your heart." Temba bowed deeply. The staff floated into his hands, warm as sunlight, light as a breath. "You've had enough. You've learned your lesson," the antelope said softly. "You have seen or learned the consequences of your ego and closing off your ears. Now go and teach others to listen before loss makes them thirsty. Because power without humility breaks the world, but with wisdom you heal the world," the antelope said softly. Temba returned to the village, happy and as a changed man. The people celebrated, and he offered a lion's tooth to the ancestors and the people that had disappeared, as their culture dictated. And the village returned to normalcy. Temba continued hunting, but not to prove anything. He became a role model to the younger hunters. Young boys looked up to him. He walked the land not with pride but with purpose. And sometimes, just before dawn, he would hear the soft whisper of hooves in the distance, a reminder that greatness means listening, not shouting. Thank you for listening or watching Diary Books and Tales. I hope you enjoyed. Please comment your thoughts on this story. Like, subscribe, share, and diary darlings, I'll see you on to the next magic.